Good morning, One Hope. It's March 27th, 2024, and our passage for today is Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 1 to 19, and Matthew chapter 22, verses 37 to 40. Our Passion Week special morning podcast series is called Jesus in Deuteronomy. Let's go back to the structure of this book again. With chapter 6 now, we now go into the second sermon of Moses. And from chapter 4, verse 44, all the way to chapter 26, Moses gives them the law again. Why again? Because this is the law that's already been given in Exodus and Leviticus. That's why I use the word again there. But Moses repeats the law here for the next generation of Israelites who are about to go into the promised land. But as he does so, he doesn't give them new laws or new set of laws. He simply repeats the law that he had given to them. And the name of the book, Deuteronomy, in its original language, from which this is derived, the name's derived, means exactly that. Repetition. Second law, literally, it means, but it denotes repetition of the law that's already been given. And chapter 6, which is our passage for today, falls under chapters 5 to 11, which forms one section, single section within the second sermon. And chapters 5 to 11 is about the Ten Commandments and the commentary on the Ten Commandments. So in chapter 5, Moses gives them the Ten Commandments. And in chapter 6 today, which we're looking at today, Moses commands them to teach the law to their children. But his command is so much more than that, because he talks about not just command to teach, but he talks about the spirit and the heart behind that command. And what is the spirit and the heart behind that command to teach the law to your children? Well, it's found in Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 and 5. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength. That's the heart behind the command to teach the law to their children. Over the years, I've had the privilege of sitting under many amazing scholars of theology and the Bible. And they were all great, first class, top-notch scholars who are also faithful followers of God. But in seeing them and learning under them, I noticed something interesting about them. Not always, but in many cases, those who are young and have just come out of their doctoral degree, they are very knowledgeable. And what comes out of them is this knowledge, and it's quite impressive. They are on top of the latest discussions and debates that are taking place in scholarship, and they are also aware of the latest theory that's hot and being discussed a lot by the scholars of the day. And when they share and teach these things, it's very intriguing. But interestingly, some of them, as intriguing as they weren't always inspiring. But at the same time, I've also had a number of older professors who are nearing their retirement. And some of these professors, and one particular professor I'm thinking of, didn't seem to know the latest theory that's being discussed, and because he didn't mention it in his class, which the ones that these young professors mentioned. But the thing about this old professor and what he taught was that somehow what he taught came to me in simplicity. But when I say simplicity, what's amazing and interesting is that it wasn't shallow. In fact, what he was teaching wasn't just intriguing, but it was inspiring. He would ask questions in a way that provoked deeper thoughts from me. And it seemed like this professor, to me, had been married to his topic of study. And this marriage is not just a short one like the young professor, but it seems like this topic is coming out of a marriage that has lasted through a lifetime. Moses, in many ways in Deuteronomy, is like that. One of the words which appear the most in Deuteronomy is the word love. Love God. And prior to Deuteronomy, this word doesn't appear much, at least to my memory of reading the other books. Moses talks about God loving his people here and there, but doesn't talk about loving God in other books in the way he does here in Deuteronomy. And I see this transformation. I see this growth in Moses in Deuteronomy. After many years of following God, he's become like that seasoned professor who's nearing retirement. And words he says comes out of many years of marriage with Yahweh, which has lasted a lifetime. And now Moses saw, but he also sees now so much more. In fact, for him, it's also become simple too. What is this faith journey all about? Moses says, it's all about loving God. That's it. Simple. But when Moses says it, where he is at right now, about to end his ministry and go to God, when he says it's about love, it doesn't come to us as being shallow, but it comes to us as being deep. Not just intriguing, but inspiring. What does the word love mean for you? The meaning of that word goes through a change throughout our lives too. At least it seems to me in my life. When I was a child, the word love was when I'm given gifts I want by my parents. That's what love was. I felt love when my parents gave me what I wanted. When I was in my 20s, love was that feeling I felt when I spent time with the woman I loved. When I was with her, the feeling that I felt, that was love to me. But into my 30s, into my 40s, and now about to walk into my 50s soon, the word and the meaning of the word love has changed a lot. And it will continue to change as well. And the same is also true for the word loving God as well. Our faith journey is all about loving God, but that word has gone through change for me as well. Loving God for me was just feeling something in God's presence. Or when things happen where I felt like, wow, God really loves me because He's gifted me with these things and He's brought the things I wanted and He's led me to places that I wanted to go to in my ministry and so on. But the word has been changing and its meaning has changed for me. What about you? Has it gotten deeper? Has the word loving God changed for you? Jesus, I think he loved all the Old Testament books, but I think he really also loved Deuteronomy. Because when he was asked what the greatest commandment was, he cites this passage from Deuteronomy 6. Matthew 22, verse 37. Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment." So Jesus knew what the essence of the law and the prophets was. And it was simple for him. It was all about loving God. That's what Christian life, that's what faith journey is all about. But when he said this, that it's all about loving God, it comes to us as simple, in simplicity, but it's not shallow. It's deep, profound. Why? Because his words that loving God is everything and number one doesn't come to us as a theory, something that he just got from attending a seminary with other rabbis, and he took a course in Deuteronomy, and that's why he knew that this was the greatest commandment. It comes out of his relationship, deep, deep relationship with the Father. So in Jesus' final sermon to his disciples before going to the cross, he says, I'll be going away from you. But in verse 30, he says, I'll not say much more to you, for the prince of this world is coming. Satan is coming. He has no hold over me. However, he has no control over me. He cannot do anything to me. Why? Verse 31, but he comes so that the world may learn that I love the Father and do exactly what my Father has commanded me. Come now, let us leave. The reason why the enemy cannot do anything against me, Jesus says, is because of my love and this love that I am in with my Father. Love that is so deep, secure, and profound. And so when Jesus says it's all about loving God, it doesn't sound shallow. It sounds deep. But interestingly, going back to Deuteronomy, the word love is one of the words that appear the most in this book. But there's another word that appears the most in Deuteronomy, and it's that word listen. In fact, when Deuteronomy chapter 6, where it says, Hear, O Israel, the word hear is Shema. And I'm sure you have heard, some of you have heard this word. Shema is a prayer that devoted Jews pray every day. And they pray this prayer daily because they believe that this is also the essence of the law as well. Shema. Well, bringing these two words together, love God and to listen. To love is to listen. To love is to hear from the beloved and what the beloved wants to say and feels in his or her heart. I pray that this Passion Week, if your Christian life has become complicated, I pray that it'll become simple again. Just go back to that simplicity where you love him. But that simplicity, I hope, will not mean shallow, but you will walk into deeper love. It's clear, that's why it's simple, and yet it's more profound because you're not just knowing this and doing this in theory, but because this loving God is and has become your life. What is more, you'll begin to hear him truly again, because as Moses shows us, what it means to love him, God, is to listen to him. So here is our takeaway. Be attentive to God. Be attentive to God, for that is what it means to love him. There was a time when, for me, loving God was asking him, this is the vision I have, and I want to do this for you. So when are you going to open the doors? Please open the doors. Take me to that place because that's the vision that you have given to me. I'm doing this for you and for your glory. But loving God is starting to change, and I hope this means I am finally maturing a bit. Now, what I want to do, when my vision is fulfilled, vision God has given me, is not really even a question that emerges in my heart when I go to prayer. More and more, I pray, God, what is it that you want? God, is this your time, your timing? Is this what you want me to do? Please let me know if it is not. Then I will stop gladly. I just want to hear from you. And that's becoming more and more of my prayer. Again, I hope that means I'm finally maturing in my love and my loving of God. So friends, be attentive to him. Listen to him. For that is what it means to love God. In Jesus' name, amen.